Meek, this is a picture of the meek. A meek is a stallion. This horse that is extremely strong. Can run. I grew up with a horse. My horse was a blast. I played with him. I would actually go as a little kid. I would take carrots to him and corn cobs and watermelon and apples. And I would go out and I would feed him. I would hang out with him all day long. I spent every summer of my life on a farm in Oklahoma. He was like my best friend growing up, right? He was gentle. I would take off running and he would chase me. When I stopped, he would stop. The worst thing he ever did, he would nip me on the shoulder with it. He'd bite me on the shoulder once in a while because he wanted more carrots or something, you know? He's a gentle horse. But that same gentle horse, he got spooked one day because a cat came out from underneath the barn. He pulled a 6-foot post out of the ground that was in the ground at least 3 feet. He pulled it out of the ground and ran through 3 fences, dragging this solid iron post. There was that much strength inside of him, and he could not be stopped when he started going. But that much strength, when I put a saddle on him and I bridled him, was fully under control. But when I say stop, he would stop. When I would say go, he would go. He would walk when I wanted him to walk. When I wanted him to run, he would run. The picture of the meek, this is not just a repeat of the first Beatitude. This is not just describing someone who's humble. Someone who is meek is someone who has a tremendous amount of strength on the inside of them. But they're bridled. And just because they see strengths in them, they don't step on other people. They don't break through fences to get to things where they should not be. To grasp at things that they don't necessarily need yet. Jesus is describing people who are part of his kingdom, and even though they might have a tremendous amount of spiritual strength because they are part of his kingdom, even though they might be very qualified for certain things because they're part of his kingdom, they don't step on others to get to things in the earth and grasp after the things of life like we see people do in business so often, like we see people do in the government so often, like we see over and over and over in the world. People are willing at any cost to get what they want. He said, blessed are the people who can be bridled and won't grasp after the things of the world, for they shall be given those things. I will gladly give them those things of the world, of the earth. They will inherit them. The thing about an inheritance, you don't receive an inheritance because of something you did. You receive an inheritance because of whose you are, because of what family you are a part of. This is what Jesus is describing here. The people who are a part of my kingdom will inherit the earth. They will lack nothing because I will give them those things. They are bridled knowing that I am their portion. I am all that they need. That is a citizen of his kingdom. The next characteristic of a citizen in God's kingdom is this. He said, blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be satisfied. Now this is the picture. Have you ever just been hungry for something very specific? Something very specific. My wife, usually about once every month or 2 months, she goes, man, I want sushi. Man, I want sushi. And I go back to that first beatitude that, honestly poor and say, babe, no extras in life. Remember, we're poor. But every once in a while we find a way to get sushi, right? But it's this specific hunger for something. I remember when she was pregnant with our first daughter, and I'm pretty basic, and we lived on a college campus, and so we ate most of our things in the cafeteria. I was actually employed there, and part of our employment was that we could eat out of the cafeteria for free. So we didn't have a whole lot of groceries. Well, at like 3 in the morning, she's probably about 7 months pregnant like this. And she wakes up at 3 in the morning and she goes, Todd, I want a popsicle. Well, we don't have popsicles in the house. But we live in Missouri and they have Walmart. They have Super Walmart in Missouri, which means they're open 24 hours a day and they have everything you need. Right? If they don't sell it, you don't need it. So they have plenty of popsicles. And she goes, Todd, I want a popsicle. will you go to Walmart and get me a popsicle? And I went, I didn't budge. I heard every word and I acted like I was asleep. I've had to ask for forgiveness every time that's come up since then. But she had a very specific longing for something, a hunger for something. This is what this is describing. Someone who is very hungry for something, but not just anything. They don't just want a glass of water. They don't just want something cold. They don't just want, something to eat. They want a popsicle. He's saying, blessed are those who hunger and thirst specifically for my righteousness. Not just for anything. Not just for any comfort, but those who will pass up everything else in the world because they long to be in a right standing with me, a right relationship with me. That's what righteousness is. Not us doing things right, not just our great works, because the Bible describes our great works and our righteousness as filthy rags. But someone who, in every action of life, they say, I want to be right with God. I want to be in a right relationship with my King. I want to know that He approves of me. Blessed are those who long, who hunger and thirst to be in a right relationship with me, for they shall be satisfied. You cannot be satisfied for hungering after the things of the world. You can have your fill of them. We saw it with Solomon. I thank God for the book of Ecclesiastes, where I can watch this process of this man who had all of the necessities, all of the means necessary to consume everything life had to offer. Money, all of the wealth, women, the kingdom, the glory, the fame, the knowledge, the food, the wine, the land. He consumed all of it. He had the means. God gave it to him. And Solomon decided he was going to pursue all that life had to offer to see what was truly fulfilling. And at the end of each pursuit, he said this one thing. It's meaningless. It's like chasing after the wind. It is not fulfilling. And in the end, it came down to this. He said, life comes down to this. Obey God and keep His commandments. Blessed are those who are not just hungry for fulfillment, but hungry to be in a right relationship with me. They understand that is the one truly fulfilling thing of life. For to these people who long for this righteousness with me, I will fill them with sustenance. I will fulfill them. They will be actually satisfied. He's not just talking about spiritually, emotionally, socially. He's not just talking about those things. He's also talking about physically. He repeats it in the same Sermon on the Mount in the next chapter. Matthew 6:33. Seek first the kingdom of heaven and His righteousness. And all of these other things will be added to you. But get priority number one. Make it priority number one. Seek to be in right standing with God. That has to be your specific focus. Your one longing to be right with God at the cost of everything else. Be right with God. He'll take care of the rest. Because He is a good Father and He cares for you. The next characteristic of a citizen in God's kingdom is this. They are merciful. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. You all remember the parable of the two people who were forgiven. One was forgiven. Of the man who was forgiven. And then he goes out and he demands someone to pay. The equivalent there is like this guy being forgiven hundreds of thousands of dollars because the guy knew he couldn't pay, and he goes out and finds a guy who owes him 10, 50, 100, something very insignificant. And he's wringing his neck saying, pay up or else. He had been forgiven a tremendous amount of debt, but couldn't forgive a small amount of debt. He's saying this, blessed are the ones who can forgive all these people who have this small debt against them. The ones who have done these little things in life to offend them. They might seem like big things, But compared to our offense toward God, it is a tremendous thing. He said, blessed are the merciful, the people who give others a second and third and fourth and fifth and sixth chance, for I will give them a second and third and fourth and fifth and sixth chance. I will be merciful to them. They will obtain genuine mercy for me for debts they cannot pay, as long as they show mercy to others and forgive people for debts that they possibly could pay. Okay, this is something